How deep can you go in the water with and without scuba? Where's the world's deepest and most incredible pool? And what do underwater flips look like with swallowed swords? All the answers and the coolest details are right here. This is Infinity, and in this episode I'll show you these and other crazy underwater world records that can't be broken. The deepest pool. The depth of a standard swimming pool varies from 3.9 to 19.6 feet depending on the purpose of the pool. Even 19.6 feet is already a hefty depth, but it's nothing compared to the record holder because it's 10 times deeper. I'm talking about the pool called Deep Dive Dubai. It opened last summer and was immediately recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records as the deepest pool in the world. Its depth is just over 196 feet. The pool itself holds about 3.6 million gallons of water. That's about 6 times more than a standard Olympic swimming pool. Deep Dive Dubai is designed for diving. Both beginners and professionals can dive here. Beginners can dive to a depth of 19.6 and 68.8 feet through the underwater spaces from land, while professionals can try to dive to the very bottom. Here, by the way, is not just a bare tile, but an amazing sunken city, which is mesmerizing. The main thing is not to forget about the oxygen supply in a scuba bag. The pool itself is shaped like a giant shell as a tribute to the history of pearl mining in the UAE. In addition to the pool itself, on the territory of the giant complex there's a restaurant, a dive store, and viewing platforms, which allow visitors to examine in detail the underwater space of the pool. In general, there's something for everyone. The Deep Dive Dubai pool is great for those who love to scuba dive, but there are daredevils in the world who are willing to dive to great depths without scuba. Diving even 164 to 196 feet without scuba is risky and epic at the same time. But what about diving below 328 feet? In this regard, there is now no equal to William Trowbridge. This New Zealand freediver is the holder of many world records, including current ones. In 2016, he did something unbelievable by diving to a depth of 406.8 feet without scuba near the Bahamas. It took Trowbridge 4 minutes and 24 seconds to hold his breath to reach the record-breaking depth and rise to the surface. In this way, he broke his own record of 400 feet set only a few days earlier. Trowbridge held another world record of diving without scuba. He's previously dived to a depth of 396, 380, and 354 feet, and each time surpassed himself. I wouldn't be surprised if the next record for diving is set by him. It seems that there are almost no limits to what a person can do, but it's unlikely that Trowbridge can dive to a depth of 492 or 656 feet without scuba. That would definitely require some scuba gear. But even with scuba, one cannot descend to infinity. The pressure and temperature play a great role after all. So far, Ahmed Gamal Gabar has shown the maximum result. In September 2014, this Egyptian diver set a fantastic world record by diving to a depth of 1,089 feet. He reached the lowest point quickly enough. It took him only 12 minutes, but it took him almost 15 hours to return to the surface. If the Egyptian had resurfaced quickly, he could have been injured or suffered from decompression sickness. A team of doctors constantly monitored the health of the diver. Gaber broke the record, which at that time was held for 9 years. The Egyptian himself prepared for a phenomenal dive for 4 years because the pressure at a depth of 1,148 feet, to which the diver was originally going to dive, reaches 497 pounds per square inch. And while Gaber didn't conquer 1,148 feet, even 1,089 feet is something incredible. Do you think this record will be broken? Swords and flips. Shane Hultgren, also known as the Space Cowboy, loves not scuba diving and flippers, but swords. This thrill-seeker has set many records related to swords on land, for example, swallowing 18 swords at a time. Even when Shane goes into the water, he has a sword with him, so he's always ready for another record. In 2014, for example, he set the record for the most swords swallowed underwater. There were as many as 4. Even that's amazing, but that's not enough for Shane. In 2017, he dived with a sword, swallowed it underwater, and then did 2 underwater flips, setting another insane record. On the same day, Shane also did an underwater swim with a swallowed sword, setting another record for the longest distance of an underwater swim with a sword in the mouth. It seems all these records will be impossible to break. Unless, of course, the space cowboy does it himself. Breath holding. How long can you go without breathing underwater? A minute? 2? Or maybe 3 whole minutes? If so, congratulations, you have trained lungs. But I'm sure none of you can go more than 20 minutes without a single breath. But Budimir Shabat can. This Croatian diver is a real amphibian. Of course, he can't breathe underwater, but he can go without oxygen for a very long time. And he's repeatedly confirmed this with unrealistic records. For example, in 2018, he held his breath for 24 minutes and 11 seconds. And last spring, he surpassed himself and stayed underwater for 24 minutes and 33 seconds. What's the secret? Could it be that the Croatian is somehow able to get oxygen from the water through his skin? Or are his lungs abnormally huge? Actually, no. Of course, he has trained lungs, but the usual deep breath is not enough in any case. To hold his breath for more than 20 minutes, Shabat uses a special technique of static apnea. First, he saturates his body with pure oxygen and then takes a deep breath and dives under the water. His task is not to make any movements and keep his pulse as low as possible. Because of this, he's able to stay underwater for a very long time. If you're impressed by this and you're already going to the store for a couple bottles of pure oxygen, take your time. Static apnea technique is effective but dangerous even for professionals. It can be fatal for beginners due to hyperventilation of lungs and potential loss of consciousness underwater. On a single breath. While some record holders take a breath and dangle motionlessly underwater, others make active movements, like swimming long distances. It's hard to find someone cooler than Dave Mullins. This New Zealand freediver holds several records. In 2010, for example, he managed to swim 715 feet underwater without flippers on a single breath. The same year, he set another record, swimming 800 feet underwater in 4 minutes using only a monofin. It goes without saying that Dave does not use the same technique as Budimir Shabat. He doesn't oxygenate his body and he doesn't use any tricks at all. The New Zealander relies solely on his trained lungs, and that's cool. So far, all the records I've told you about have involved only one person each. Let's take a look at a couple of epic mass records as well. For example, the unique underwater human chain. In 2016, the diver training agency Raid Italia set the coolest record ever with the help of their trainees. 173 people descended to the bottom of the sea off the island of Elba in Italy and formed a single chain. First, they swam following the rope, then grabbed the rope all together, and then took each other's hands. With this unusual record, the agency wanted to show how beautiful diving is and that it can unite people. Surprisingly, just 3 years after this incredible achievement, an even more epic record was set on the other side of the world. 578 divers formed the longest underwater chain near the Indonesian city of Manado. It looks about the same as the Italian chain, but there are a lot more people. So visually, this record seems much cooler. There are not only phenomenal underwater records in the world, but also simply records related to water. They're just as striking. So let's take a look at them too. Stay tuned to learn about the 124-plus mile swim and see that Shaolin monks are superhuman. Super swim. Marathon swimming is currently considered to be the longest swim. This is the longest distance in Olympic swimming. Athletes swim 6.2 miles in open water, which requires special endurance. If you've ever swum long distances, you know how long 6.2 miles is. But for Walter Pettish, 6.2 miles is just a warm-up. In 1978, he did a stunning super swim that demonstrated that a person hardly knows the limits of their capabilities. Walter literally swam from one country to the next. He started from Havana, the capital of Cuba, and swam towards the United States. Walter swam continuously for 34 hours and 15 minutes and eventually reached the small town of Little Duck Key on the U.S. coast. In total, he swam just over 128 miles. That's some alien level. 128 miles is extremely difficult to even just walk in one go, let alone swim across an actual ocean. In almost 45 years, no daredevil has ever managed to surpass Walter's achievement, and it's possible that his record will never be broken at all. Some people like to swim across the ocean, some like to swim in a river, and I'm not talking about an ordinary swim in an ordinary river. I'm talking about crossing a whole river, more precisely several rivers. Martin Strel, just like Walter Penish, proved that man is capable of almost anything. In 2007, the Slovene sportsman literally swam the entire Amazon River. The Slovene swam 3,273 miles in the largest river by discharge volume of water in the world. Unlike Walter, he paused, of course, getting aboard his accompanying boat every evening or going ashore to rest and recuperate for the new start in the morning. But that didn't make his achievement any less epic, as Martin swam about 49.7 miles a day. After starting at the source of the river in Peru, he ended his journey at the mouth of the river near the Brazilian city of Belém. And finally, the most unexpected record in this episode, running on water. To run on water for more than 328 feet. How you like that? Seems impossible, but the Shaolin monks once again proved that they are superhumans. Actually, I'm not talking about a full-fledged running on water. After all, it's still unrealistic. I'm talking about running on planks that were scattered across the water. But even so, the record's incredible. It was set by the monk Shi Lilang. You might think running on these planks would be easy, but it wasn't. Any beginner would fail immediately. Shi Lilang uses a precise combination of running speed and keeping his balance so that he doesn't go under the water. This technique is called flying over water, and it's part of the skill set of Shaolin Kung Fu masters. That's all, guys. Which record impressed you the most? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you later.